Hello, comic and gaming fans. I'm Alex Coop.
And I'm James Griffin.
We are the Lunch Breakers.
And today we're going to be playing Zone of the Enders.
We have a prize to give away today, so stay tuned to figure out what that is and how you can win it.
And we'll also be announcing the winner of the Batman Arkham Origins shirt at about halftime.
For this lunch break, we decided to, get into some mech games, and this one is one I haven't really heard of before, to be honest.
I've heard of Zone of the Enders, but I've never played it. Honestly, for me, mech games, even as a kid growing up, they were a title I kind of stayed away from. They seemed very daunting.
Yeah, it seems a little complicated. It's like the pacing is up and down. A lot of times you're just, walking around in your mech at, snail's pace, just doing nothing and getting from one checkpoint to another. Then all of a sudden, this happens.
Yeah. It's definitely not a very approachable genre. I mean, Zone of the Enders, though, was pretty influential, I think, for its time in the PS2 era, because it really they brought mech games more to a North American audience, especially for a newer generation. Mm-hmm. And I think Second Runner is really well known for making it a lot more complex, adding this hardcore crowd. But it's still definitely a niche genre.
Yeah.
Even when you think about games like today, like Armored Core, etc., stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's really a hardcore crowd, and especially Armored Core 5 was notorious for having no learning curve. It had no manual or anything like that. So you're just kind of thrown in and here are a lot of buttons. Good luck.
Is that how you feel right now?
Yeah, I'm pretty much mashing the square button here, but things are dying, so I'm assuming that's a good thing.
It looks like there's a lot of buttons. Oh my goodness, something happened.
Passed through.
So, have you ever played Mech Assault?
Mech Assault? No, I've not.
Those games before?
Honestly, I played some of the older Armored Core games, to a degree. I played about 20 minutes of each one before I was I have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah.
What about you?
I played Mech Assault, and the original one on the Xbox, and I liked it. But once again, it was just the pacing was up and down. I just really didn't like the sequences where you had a slow mech and you just walked around and did nothing for a long time. But I didn't mind it. And then there was another old mech game on Windows from the 90s. It's called Iron Blood. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it, but that was really fun. You got to choose between two mechs. One was slow, but he had tons of weapons that you could choose from, like cannons, lasers, whatever you can think of, basically. And then the other one was a blue one that only had one laser sword, but you can run and sprint really fast. So it was kind of cool, and there are lots of levels, and it was pretty simple.
Yeah. One of the cool things about mech games, and I haven't played much of Zone of the Enders, so I don't know much, but is the customization is huge.
Yeah, exactly.
Armored Core, it's really big. I mean, it's your own personal mech sort of deal. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the popularity with mech games really started with a lot of shows like Gundam Wing from the 80s and stuff like that. But there's a new game coming out soon that might be a little more popular than old mech games.
Whoa, what's this game called?
I don't know. People may have heard of it. It's called Titanfall. Now, Titanfall itself, from what we've seen from gameplay, isn't really a traditional mech game. I mean, It's still really a first-person shooter, but it's kind of meshing both genres together because you got these super soldiers and you also got to go into these mechs and play. But
yeah, exactly.
It's definitely a departure from stuff like this where you're not being these winged mechs flying around sort of deal. It's different. But it still, I think, retains some of the original roots. And one of the big things about Titanfall is that it's an Xbox One exclusive, and it's meshing two genres together, which I think is surprising they chose the mech genre because it's so underrepresented, especially in North America.
Yeah,
very interesting.
And I really like the way they take some elements from Brink. I don't know if that was their intention or not, but the way you can maneuver your character and run off walls and vault over stuff, and it's just much more fluid first-person action, and I like that a lot as well.
It reminds me also a bit of a Crisis. Now that you mentioned all the vaulting and stuff, totally, because you're the super soldier, right?
Mm-hmm. And then bringing mechs into the mix. I mean, you really can't go wrong there.
Yeah. Who doesn't love big robots fighting big robots? Yeah. I mean, we all watched Pacific Rim. It was fun.
It was great.
All right, before we cut to a quick commercial break, we're going to announce the winner of last week's contest.
Yeah, Burrs, the winner receives this lovely t-shirt. And the winner for this week is Sarah Grace.
Congrats, Sarah. Sarah's favorite horror games were Resident Evil 4 and Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. Some pretty good choices. Red Dead's a pretty amazing game, and I think Resident Evil 4 was the last good one of the series.
Yeah, yeah. Good choice. Good choice.
Stay tuned after the break for details on our next contest. Thor: The Dark World is out tomorrow.
Be sure to check out the review for the movie on cgmagonline.com.
All right, welcome back. We've switched over to the first Zone of the Enders now, which Alex is having a little trouble figuring out, as with most of these games. What are you doing right now, Alex?
Cutscene, thank you. Or
Oh, I think you're in like a
I somehow
training
entered
mode.
a first-person view and I couldn't get out of it, and now I'm in sub-menu.
No, yeah. Actually, the first Zone of the Enders, while it was a new take on kind of the mech series, is supposed to be a lot worse than the second runner. I think there's a lot of just hack and slashing here, and it got a lot of hell for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now, I don't even know what's going on here.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned Titanfall before, and I'm just really curious as to how much you'll really be able to customize your mechs. I think that's
I feel like
with these games, that's one of my favorite parts, is just being able to deck your mech out with massive guns and being able to customize it all you want. Hopefully something like that is in Titanfall.
I think Titanfall, unfortunately, though, is focusing more on the first-person shooter than it is the actual mech part.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a little of a bummer, but at the same time, hey, they want to make money.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And yeah, definitely this is a niche genre that I think it's really hard to risk these kind of games. I think, like for example, Armored Core, they only appeal to the hardcore of the hardcore. And for that, every time From Software releases a new Armored Core, it has to appeal to this one demographic, because if they lose that, they're done, right?
Yeah.
It's probably really risky each time one of these games is released. Much more so than, say Call of Duty, where they can just play it safe each time, and people will buy it. And not even just hardcore fans. I mean, Call of Duty appeals to a big mass audience.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's a lot riskier. I mean, you can also think of games like Persona, that appeal to a much nicher crowd. Not really in Japan, but here. I mean, every time they say, okay, we're going to release this in North America, they have to know that there's going to be at least 200,000 people who want to play this game.
Yeah.
And they can lose a lot of money otherwise. I mean, it's a huge risk.
So are you totally going to pick up Titanfall?
Honestly, right now I'm not even sure when I want to get next gen. But if I had to pick between one, I think Titanfall would definitely be a deciding factor for me. I mean, you look at the launch lineup. They got Dead Rising, they got Forza. When you look at PS3's, they got Killzone, which looks really pretty, but I mean, it's a Killzone game, right? Whereas Titanfall is one of the only new games that's really trying something completely different. I mean, it's meshing a niche genre with something like the first-person shooter. It's something.
I don't know if
it looks really great.
Totally unique, but it is different, and I do appreciate that at least. But I don't know, it doesn't stand out as much as you say it does.
You don't think it stands out that much?
Not yet. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I haven't seen enough of it, but still, it is definitely the most unique title out of all of them. I think.
I think what it does is it takes a lot of past concepts, but it puts them in a situation that hasn't been seen before.
Yeah.
So I do agree that it's not the next Journey or something where it does something so radically different, but it's doing something I think that hasn't been done, at least not in mainstream games, which I think is a really good thing. And I think for a launch game, it's very risky.
For a launch game,
I think it's very it's definitely unique for a launch game, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that Microsoft can say, hey, we have, and then Sony can be like, well, we don't have this. We have Killzone, but we don't have something that is completely different.
Yeah. Unless Armored Core 6 comes out on PS4. Alrighty.
Anyways, we're nearing the end of our lunch breakers now, and we actually have another giveaway. Tell us what the product is here, Alex.
It is Armored Core Verdict Day.
Armored Core 5 Verdict Day.
On PS3, yes. Armored Core 5.
Now, we talked a bit earlier about Armored Core, and now it's definitely a niche title. But
yeah, and it's a rare title. You can't really find this very easily, so you definitely want this.
If you're a collector, you definitely
want this. And how can people win this?
So you need to share and comment on Lunch Breakers from our Facebook site, Comics Gaming Magazine on Facebook, and we will pick a winner at our next week's lunch break.
Yeah, so please comment and share and pick this game up because you know you want it.
And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.